In this module, let's talk about some of the keys to making sales on Amazon. Now that you know about the A9 algorithm from the last module, there's basically two ways you make sales on Amazon. There's what's called organic sales and what's called paid sales. Organically would be when you're just naturally listed on the page. Organic sales occur when someone types in a keyword and someone scrolls down and sees a list of products and clicks on your product and buys it. You didn't have to pay anything to actually get them to click on your listing. They just naturally clicked on it because they like the photo, they like the price, or it's exactly what they were looking for. On the other hand, paid sales come from when you're running ads on Amazon itself. These are not ads that you ran from outside Amazon to Amazon. If you ran something on Facebook and you ran ads and they ended up buying on Amazon, that would still be considered organic. But if you actually ran it within the Amazon ecosystem using one of Amazon's advertising tools and you made a sale, whether that's through PPC or sponsored brands or headline ads or display ads or DSP, any of those different types of advertising programs that Amazon offers, that would be a paid sale. Typically, you want to be shooting for about 20 to 30% of your sales to be coming from paid and 70 to 80% to be coming from organic. Now, when you first launch a product, those numbers are probably going to be inversed. And actually, it could be as much as 100% coming from paid sales, especially if it's a competitive product, because you're going to have to get positioning on the page, because when you first put your listing up, Amazon's not going to show you on page one if there's a lot of competition. And so you're going to have to prove to the algorithm that you're relevant by getting conversions. And so the way you can do that is actually by running advertising on Amazon. Now, there are some other ways. There's a way called search, find, buy, where you get people to actually purchase your product naturally in the organic way, or even maybe have them click on your ads and purchase it. And then that is a way that a lot of people use to help rank products, and we'll be discussing that a little bit later on. But those would be actually considered organic sales as well. Unless they actually click the ad, then it's actually a paid sale. But there's some advantages and disadvantages that we'll talk about later. So when you first start out, you actually might be as much as 100% paid advertising because you're not ranking organically, and you got to prove to the algorithm that you're getting conversions and that you're worthy of actually being ranked organically. Now, in order to find out what your conversion rates are, Amazon doesn't tell you that on organic sales. You have no way of knowing how many people actually search for a keyword and ended up choosing you. Amazon just doesn't give that information. But they do give it on paid. So on paid advertising, you can actually see how many people potentially viewed your ad, how many people actually clicked your ad, and how many people actually bought your ad based on the keyword that they searched on, or in some cases, based on the page that they want. And so when you go into Seller Central and to the back end, there's something called Business Reports. There's a tab called Business Reports. And in there, you can actually create a whole bunch of different reports. And one of them is an advertising report. Sometimes you can also find this in the advertising section. If you download that report, there's a number of different reports there, but one of them is called a search term report. And we'll show you more about this in the advertising section when we get to that week. But that report will actually break down and show you how many times you appeared for different keywords, how many people actually clicked on it, and how many sales you actually made. So it will actually tell you a conversion percentage. But back in the business reports in Seller Central, you can also do something where you actually look at sales, unit sales, by parent or by child. And what that will show you is actually how many sessions you've had, which are individual users, typically over about a 24-hour period, how many page views you've had. Page views, you could have more page views than sessions because people could actually come and look at your page, maybe go to a competitor's page, then come back to your page. It will also show you what's called a unit session conversion percent. And that's basically your conversion percentage on Amazon. And that's overall. So that's not just for organic, but that's for organic and PPC. That's basically for everything. And that's a key number that you want to take a look at, because if that number is in a certain ranges, it's an indicator of how well you're doing, how good your listing is compared to your competition. So that unit session percent, if it's less than 7%, that's not good. That means you're listing in a very competitive niche, or it needs some work. And that work could be better video, better copy, it could be a better price. There's a number of things, but if it's less than 7%, that's not very good. If it's between 7 and 15%, that's okay. If it's 15 to 20%, that's good. If it's above 20%, that's great. Assuming you actually have a number of sessions, if you only aren't getting very many eyeballs on your listing, you're probably going to have a higher conversion rate than if you have a lot of eyeballs on your listing. But those are just some general ballpark numbers that you can work with. Outside traffic plays an important role in how you rank on Amazon, so you're going to want to at some point investigate sitting outside traffic. You may not want to do that in the very beginning because it's another whole skill set of things you have to learn, but we do have some modules coming up later in the training where we'll actually talk about that and show you how to do some of that kind of stuff. Now, what Amazon really cares about is what have you done for us recently. Their algorithm really looks for most recent sales. They don't care about what you sold 2 years ago, but they care about what you've done recently. And the algorithm has different, nobody knows exactly how it works, but it has different sales barometers that it keeps up. It's like, how many have you sold in the last hour compared to everybody else? How many have you sold in the last 6 hours? How many in the last day? How many in the last 3 days, 7 days, 14 days, a month, 3 months, 6 months, and perhaps even a year? There's a number of weighted factors in there. And so the more sales you've had recently, the more the algorithm favors you. And the indicator of how well you're selling on Amazon is called BSR, or best seller rank. So you'll see that on almost every product what its best seller rank is. And that's an indication of how it's selling compared to other things in its category. So BSRs are not system-wide like an SFR. SFR, search frequency rank, that's what you get from Brand Analytics. That's system-wide across all categories. But BSR is very specific to a category. And the BSR, usually there's sometimes multiple BSRs. Sometimes the first one is just for the top level category, like sports and outdoors. You might be number 2,000 in sports and outdoors. But then it'll break it down, and maybe in yoga equipment, your BSR is number 17. So within sports, of all sports, so that would include basketball helmets and footballs and cleats and everything else, you're number 2,000. But when you get into the yoga equipment, you're the 17th best-selling yoga equipment. So some people really track what their competitors are doing, what their competitors' BSRs are doing. I don't pay too much attention to that. And honestly, I don't pay too much attention to BSR as a whole. All I really care about is where am I ranked on a keyword and how much sales am I making. I think a lot of people get obsessed with BSR, and it's something that it's nice to have. It's a good number. It's what a lot of the tools like Helium 10 use to make estimates off of how much people are selling. But I don't think it's something that you got to be obsessive about. Something that you need to know is when you first launch your product, there's something that is coined, and this is not an Amazon term, this is what someone coined it, is the honeymoon period. And so you actually get a period of time, and no one knows exactly how long it is. Some people say it's a couple weeks, some people say it's a month, some people say it's 45 days, some people say it's until you get the first 3,100 impressions on your listing. No one knows exactly how it is, but everyone tends to agree there is a period of time, and typically the agreement is around a month, where Amazon kind of gives you the benefit of the doubt. And that's because you don't have those past histories in the algorithm. You don't have a 3-month or a 6-month or even a 1-week history. So everything is based on what have you done for me lately. So it's very, very important when you first launch your product to come out of the gate swinging, to have all your promotions ready, and we'll talk about this later in the launching module, to have everything ready to go. So if you're setting up your listing in advance, but while you're waiting for your manufacturer to make the product, there's nothing wrong with that. You just need to make sure that you put a future release date on there. You put there's some options, and we'll show you when we do a listing walkthrough where you can do this. There's a couple different places, and you want to make sure that you actually put a future release date. And usually your product still won't show up because it's not going to be in stock anyway, but it's best as a safety measure to do that. Once you do come into stock, you need to be ready to start rolling on all your promotions, because you don't want to have that algorithm start off with slow sales. You want it to start off with a bang and then build that momentum from there. And we'll talk a lot more about that when we get to the launching. And we're going to have some guest speakers that come on in some later modules and give you some tips and strategies on that as well. Another thing that's really important, especially when it comes to PPC, is your click-through rate, or CTR. And so the click-through rate is a major factor. And so when it comes to PPC, Amazon won't always show who's bidding the most. They'll show who gets actually, remember, it's revenue per customer. So their algorithm will figure out which combination of bid and conversion is going to be likely, because the A9 is a predictive. It's trying to predict future sales, future conversions. That's the whole point of the A9. And so click-through rate, especially when it comes to PPC, is vitally important. It's not as important when it comes to organic. Sales are more important when it comes to organic, but on PPC, it's pretty important. Some other things that play a role in how you make sales and how you rank on Amazon are add to carts or add to wish lists. Those two things, how many people do that, because that's buyer intent, that can play a factor on how you do on Amazon. Your page views, the more page views you have, the more likely you are to make sales. The more sessions you have, the more likely you are to make sales. Recent sales are critical on Amazon. So the more recent sales you have, the higher you're going to probably rank for different keywords. Outside traffic and PPC are important for making sales on Amazon. You can generate quite a bit of sales by doing that and prove to the algorithm that you're important. Reviews are important for making sales on Amazon. A lot of customers, if you don't have reviews when you first start, they may not trust your product. Even though you have a great product, if you can't overcome the fact that you have low or no reviews, sometimes that'll hurt your conversion rates and they'll hurt your click-through rates, and it can affect you. So getting reviews as fast as possible in the beginning is very important. And there's programs like the Vine program that if you're brand registered, you can sign up for. And as long as you don't have I believe it's 5 reviews yet, you can actually have Amazon petition some of their best reviewers, and you can do up to 30 units. And Amazon will put your product out there and say, hey, does anybody want this? We'll give it to you for free. You're paying for it as a seller, but Amazon will ship it and give it to them and then charge you a fee as if it's sold, and then send it to these people. They'll take a look at it and come and write a review, and they'll say Vine reviewer next to it. That's a great way to get some early reviews and to get the ball rolling. Remember, you don't want to influence reviews with your friends or family. Don't have friends or family go and write reviews. Don't go write reviews yourself or have all the people in the office write a review. They need to come either through an Amazon authorized way, like the Vine program, or they need to come naturally. The review rate typically, once you get to about 20 reviews, people start believing it. So reviews are a currency on Amazon. So someone that has 20,000 reviews, people are going to trust a lot more, all things else being equal, than someone that has 100 reviews. But the key is I would be trying to get to about 20 as fast as you can, because statistically, once people see that you have 20 or more, they start to actually believe it. When you only have 6 or 7 or 10 reviews, people are less likely to believe that's a valid rating. But for whatever reason, data scientists have proven that 20 is like a magic number. So try to get that as quick as possible. Also, Amazon takes a look at your stock and your inventory levels, and that can affect you on how much sales you make and how you rank. You always want to try to have at least 30 days worth of inventory in stock, if at all possible. Another thing is if you have the buy box. So you should, as a private label seller, most of the time have the buy box. But if someone else comes in and is selling your product on your listing, you may be sharing the buy box. Or if you price your product too high, Amazon thinks you're price gouging or something, you may lose the buy box. Or in some cases, if your product is being shown on an Amazon page in a country where Amazon doesn't ship, so someone in I don't know, Venezuela, it happens to be on Amazon.com in the middle of the day looking at your listing, the buy box is not going to show there because Amazon doesn't actually ship to that country, and that's okay. But that's also why you won't have a buy box percentage of 100% sometimes. Another thing that you want to make sure is your seller feedback score is always greater than 98%. That can affect your sales and your rating as well, and how you show up. Another factor that can come into play is the age of your account. So typically older accounts on Amazon get a little bit of extra love than brand new accounts. They're trusted a little bit more by the algorithm than a brand new account. Some other things you need to think about when it comes to making sales on Amazon is if you're going to run out of stock, that's one of the worst things you can do on Amazon, is run out of stock for an extended period of time. And if that's the case, you might want to do what's called close the listing. This doesn't delete it. It's not going to erase it from Amazon. But when you close the listing, you basically stop the counter. Because if you have an open listing and you're out of stock, the theory is from a lot of people that Amazon is recording zeros in sales every day that you're out of stock because the listing is still active. And if you close the listing, it basically stops those zeros from counting. So if you're going to run out of stock for a period of time, close the listing. When you get back in stock, just go in there and you can either hit edit and just make one little change, and it should go back live within like 15 minutes. And you're not going to come back with the same BSR that you had before. You're going to start at a lower BSR, but you should be able to make your way back up pretty close to where you were before if you do this in the right way. Another thing you need to be careful of is if you're You'll see a lot of people on Facebook groups say, hey, I'm about to run out of stock, I'm going to raise my price. I need to slow down the sales. I'm selling 20 a day right now, and I'm going to run out of stock in a week, so I'm going to raise my price up so I only sell 10 per day. You don't want to do that. That actually messes with the algorithm, messes with your momentum. It's better to go out of stock at a high rate of sales than it is to lower the sales. So don't ever raise your price with the sole intention of slowing down the sales. Try to keep your refund rate under 5%. The lower the better, because high refund rates can actually affect you in your rankings on Amazon. Another thing is videos. If at all possible, get a video on your listing. You can do both the video shorts and the actual video on your listing, and make sure you have video on your A+ content if you're brand registered as well. Also, you want to really try to strive to keep your review rating at 4.5 stars or higher. The higher that review rating, the more likely you're going to make sales. So the higher the review rating and the higher the number of reviews, the more likely people are going to trust you. So try to keep that score at 4.5 or above if at all possible. There's a Q&A section on every product, and you can have friends or family go in there and write common questions, or you can have customers or someone from a Facebook group go in there and write common questions, and you can answer them. And those are great sections to put additional information. If you're always getting people asking, hey, does this come with a, does this work on certain devices, and you don't have room to put that elsewhere in your listing, you can answer it there, or any other common questions. That stuff gets indexed by the algorithm and helps in the relevance as well. And another thing that you can always strive for that will help in making sales is if you can get one of the badges, like the bestseller badge or the Amazon's Choice badge or the best new release badge. Now those are based on how well you do. So bestseller badge means you're the best seller in the category. The best new release is you're one of the top new releases, and usually you don't hold on to that badge too long, but those badges can build trust and confidence in their social proof. The Amazon's Choice badge is another badge that's awarded by Amazon, and that's used a lot by Alexa and some of the other devices. When someone says, hey, I want to order toilet paper, how does it know which toilet paper to recommend if you've never ordered toilet paper before? Well, it uses the Amazon's Choice, whatever has the Amazon's Choice badge. That's not someone inside Amazon or editors inside Amazon saying these are the best ones. It's based on an algorithm as well. One other really important thing to making sales on Amazon is perceived value. So it's not always about being the lowest price, but you have to have the right perceived value. So you have to price against your competition if you're just going to be a me too, or your price has to be justified by your listing. And so if you're going to charge a higher price or a different price than your competition, you've got to back it up and show the proof with really good copy, really good video, and really good images that justify why this thing should be at this price. Otherwise, you're constantly going to be pricing against the competition, and that's a much more difficult route. So those two things can make a huge difference in sales as well. So those are some key things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to making sales on Amazon. Hopefully this has given you a lot to think about, and I look forward to seeing you in the next module.